What's up, everybody? We are live right now. The Wrestling Through the Years podcast. I am Dutchy. That is Money E. Daniel is sick tonight, and Clineth is dealing with something. I don't know what it is, but I'm kind of glad because he kind of sucks. So, we'll see if they come back next week or whatever. But all right, so tonight was supposed to be ECW Heatwave 98. We were supposed to review that, but I think we're going to do that next week, unless Daniel has a better idea. But tonight, instead, we are going to give our list for our top 5 favorite years in wrestling. Now, I picked this because it's easy, because any moron can, recite their 5 favorite years in wrestling, or at least 5 years that they liked. So I figured this was the easiest thing for Eric and Clint to do, and not even they could screw it up. No problem. I tell the truth on this show.
Yeah, that's why we make a good partnership.
Yeah. That and I haven't given in to killing you yet. I show restraint. But all right. So before we get into that, some stuff happened this week. Now, I haven't read the spoilers. They already taped Monday's Raw. They taped it this past Monday. And
oh, wow. Okay.
So people already know what the 2 main War Games matches are going to be. I can kind of speculate. I haven't read the spoilers yet because I watch the first hour of Raw every week with my brother. So, and he doesn't like spoilers. But so this week is kind of, it's kind of a, decent week in wrestling, but a big week in fighting. Tonight is Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Eric, who do you have in that?
Jake Paul by knockout.
Yeah. I mean, I would love for Tyson to beat the shit out of him.
10 years ago, yeah. But
yeah.
50. How old is Tyson? 55?
60.
60-year-old Tyson. I'm not going to say not a chance because anything can happen. And it's kind of, yeah. But I would say Jake Paul by, I'd say, how many rounds is it supposed to be?
I'm not sure how many rounds it's supposed to be. I don't even know if I'm going to be up.
What time is it supposed to be?
Well, the card starts at 8, but I'm pretty sure they're not going on till 11.
Okay. And you said Daniel and Bobby might do stream?
I mean, they're thinking about it. I don't know if they're going to do it or not. It depends on how Daniel feels.
Okay.
But, I mean, I would love to see Mike Tyson knock the shit out of this guy.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
But I don't think it's possible.
Because I like Logan Paul better than Jake. I hate Jake Paul.
I mean, I think they both suck.
Oh, yeah, no, you're not wrong, but I've grown to like Logan Paul for some reason.
Well, you also like you're also very fond of pieces of shit. So, but that's another story for another time. But who's your worker of the week?
Who's it? I can't pronounce the international champion. What's his name?
Takeshita?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not his name, but that's how it's spelled.
Yeah. Kazuchika Ishida. I mean,
Kanusuke
Kanasha?
Or Kanatsuka, I don't know. Something Takeshita.
Yeah. Well, the AEW international champion, I'll say him. He is a good wrestler.
I mean, he's one of your brethren. You should know his name.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But he is an underrated wrestler, I think.
Yeah.
He faced Adam Cole. That's right. That was a good match.
Yeah. And then, so now it's MJF versus Roderick Strong at Full Gear because Adam Cole couldn't get it done.
Yeah. Which I thought, wait, then I guess that Adam Cole can interfere in that match somehow.
Probably. But, yeah, so my worker of the week is actually going to be, who is it going to be? Because,
Let me turn that down.
I'll probably say Damian Priest because I think his promos are getting better.
Yeah.
And he had a pretty decent match with Kaiser Monday night. So I would give it to him. Also, some news tonight on SmackDown, they're going to start the tournament to crown the new Women's United States champion. First match is Bayley, Candice LeRae, and B-Fab.
Who do you think is going to win that tournament?
It's probably going to be somebody that really needs the title. Like somebody that they really want to do something with. So I would almost say somehow it's going to be Chelsea Green.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking her or any word on when Charlotte coming back?
Oh, if they give it to her, they're out of their fucking minds.
I wouldn't rule it out.
Oh, neither would I. I just think it's bullshit. She doesn't. The only thing she needs is a piano dropped on her head.
Because if they give it to her, she would be the Triple Crown champion.
She already was. She already is a Triple Crown winner.
Oh,
She's a
she won
Grand
tag
Slam champion. I think,
right.
isn't she? Because she won
NXT.
She won the NXT, the Raw Women's, the SmackDown Women's, and she's a former tag champion too.
I forgot that she won the tag team.
Yeah. So she's already got the honor, so she could fuck off.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if she actually did come back in this tournament or something.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised either. I just don't want it to happen.
Me neither. It's been fun without her.
Oh, it's been a blast. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's just get into this here. So, we can, because the sooner we start, the sooner we can finish.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to give our top 5 favorite years in wrestling. So basically these are years that we kind of look back and like we're very, very fond of. A lot of good things happened in there that we liked. We can expand on that. So when you say what your year is, just say a little bit of why you liked it. Don't just say, "Oh, I liked the year 1996. It was a good year." If that's all you say, I'm gonna fucking slap the shit out of you. So just kind of make sure to get some context as to why that you thought the year was good or whatever.
That's why I wrote some notes down for it.
Yeah, good. Hey, Shawnee boy.
Hey, Sean.
So,
can I start?
Yeah, I was actually getting ready to throw it to you anyway. So, Go ahead.
You might be surprised at this. Maybe not, but 2011. It was the CM Punk, Summer of Punk, as you know. Yeah. I know you don't like CM Punk, but that was when I became a huge fan of CM Punk. It was the start of his. Basically, it was 2011 is because of CM Punk, Pipe Bomb, Summer Punk, and then the Rio cashing in on him. That was pretty wild. And then Nash attacking him, and then even Bryan winning the World Championship too. Zack Ryder winning the United States Championship, and then CM Punk winning it back at Survivor Series. So yeah.
And we're doing good, Sean. How are you doing? But yeah, I mean, 2011 was kind of because I did like the fact that they went 40 men in the Rumble. I always thought that was kind of cool. I do think that WrestleMania that year is the worst WrestleMania of all time
Oh yeah.
because of Cena and Miz.
Yes.
Well, more because The Rock needed to get over, and he made it more about himself than he did Cena and Miz.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, and I do think also TNA was doing some good stuff that year too.
Yeah, I was
So,
gonna ask, was that the year of Aces and Eights? I forgot.
no, they came in 2012.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was 11 or 12.
Yeah. So 2011 was kind of like
The
the
beginning
year
Hogan year.
where, Immortal was kind of still running high. Unfortunately, that's also the year that Jeff Hardy pulled that stunt at that Victory Road where he came to the ring high.
That's right. Yeah,
Uh,
he fell. He fell. On the ground. He fell going to the ring. Right.
I think he tripped,
Yeah, and he had to
but
strip him with the title. I think.
well, they did the match. So Sting was the champion, and they were supposed to have like this long match or whatever. And I don't think Sting was gonna drop the belt yet. But Bischoff had gone out to the ring because he's just like, all right, well, what the fuck do we do? Nobody gave him an answer. So he's like, all right. So he goes out to the ring and he basically says he cuts a promo because he's trying to give Jeff time to kind of get his wits together. And Sean's right, it did almost kill TNA. And when Bischoff basically cuts his promo, oh, my mommy gave it a like. So, hey Eric. So, when Bischoff's cutting this promo saying, "Hey, it's no disqualification," he whispers to Jeff. He goes, "Look, take his finish. Let's get the hell out of here." And then he goes up to Sting, and he's just like, "Hit me in the face, then do your finish, and let's get out of here." So they had to make it short and sweet. So besides that, I do feel like TNA had a decent year. That was the first year that they did that Bound for Glory series, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah. So I was always
still did that.
Huh?
I wish they still did that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would have helped. Definitely would have helped the company, I think.
And I think this is the start of the Bully. No, never mind. I was going to say it was the start of the Bully Ray era, but not yet.
Yeah. I mean, he had started the thing probably kind of towards the end of
2011.
Towards the end of 2010, but it really picked up steam in 2011.
Yeah.
And Sean does bring up, it says there was a documentary about the whole Jeff Hardy thing, but I mean, the fact that management let him let Jeff walk to the ring, but the thing is, they couldn't really do anything about it. I mean, what do you like? How the hell are you going to stop him? Or one, what you should have done is when he got to the building, when he went to, because apparently when he got to the building at 11 o'clock, which was their call time, he went to the building and then he just went off into another room and just basically hung out there until it was time for him to go for his match. And I think that's when you need somebody to be with him to make sure he's not doing anything stupid. So, but you got anything else on 2011 that you liked?
No, it was mainly because of Punk and mainly towards the summer and onwards.
Yeah.
was the better part of 2011 for me.
I mean, and that's the funny thing is that like Punk was getting so over, and you could tell that it just bugged the shit out of Vince McMahon because a lot of stuff was getting over that he didn't want to get over. You know,
Yep.
mainly CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Zack Ryder.
And Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, Dolph to a point because Dolph was one of their hot heels.
Yeah.
And Vince just he hated that because they were guys who were kind of questioning Vince's leadership because they felt like Vince wasn't focused on the future, which he really wasn't.
Yeah.
But you know, but then like you start having Triple H kind of do like more office stuff, and he's not really going to wrestle that much anymore. But yeah, like 2011, like as cool of a year of was, that's the year you really started to see that Vince McMahon did not give a fuck
About
about
the
the
fans.
fans at all.
Yep. That's when the fans like took over arenas, starting to take over like the arenas.
Yeah. No, Sean, 2011 was not the year of aces and eights.
That was 2012. I
Yeah.
thought 2012 almost made my list too, but
yeah. All right. So the first year, and I don't really have to have my list in front of me because I already kind of know it.
yeah.
My number 5, and by the way, we're only doing top 5, not top 10, because I figured that would be too hard to come up with 10 of them. And we'd be here all fucking night.
Yeah.
My number 5, it's gonna be a weird one because I was not born.
Can I guess?
You can guess if you want.
1984.
No.
Oh, okay. You said when you're not born, so
Yeah. Yeah, Hogan was bad in the Aces and Eights storyline there, Sean. I agree. No,
yep.
my number 5 is actually 1982.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, Sean, it's not 1994, it's 1982. So, and it became my favorite year just by watching it on like the network and Peacock and all that. And it's
Right.
mainly my favorite year because of Mid-South Wrestling.
Okay.
And they were so hot at the time, and they had like a really good hour of television. And you know, some stuff was starting at the beginning of the year. Ted DiBiase was their North American champion. Junkyard Dog and this guy Mike George were their tag champions, and like there was like a storyline progression of Skandor Akbar came in, and you know the first thing he did was he stole the Wild Samoans from Ernie Ladd. Ernie Ladd was their manager. Skandor Akbar went and convinced the Samoans to drop Ernie Ladd and, you know, sign him on as their manager. And then they do this angle where they attack Ernie Ladd, and then the one-man gang makes his debut, and nobody knew who he was, but he makes his debut, and they almost break Ernie Ladd's leg.
Wow.
Then, you know, there was the deal. Paul Orndorff was there, and Paul Orndorff and Ted DiBiase are supposed to have a title match. Paul Orndorff's basically the way they explained it was the tires on Paul Orndorff's car got stolen. Somebody
Jeez.
jacked his tires, and then this other guy Bob Roop comes in, and he you know, takes Junkyard Dog's title shot, or he takes Paul Orndorff's title shot against Ted DiBiase, and then he wins the title because the one man gang and Skandor Akbar, who were paid off to help Orndorff with the win the title, were that because they were paid off, they went ahead and they helped Bob Roop. So Bob Roop became the champion. So now they're running roughshod for a few weeks, and then you have Ernie Ladd come back and he's going to swear revenge. He's going to get revenge against the Samoans, and he hires the Masked Assassin to be his partner. And now the Masked Assassin's gimmick was always, if you pay me, I will help you. So Ernie Ladd paid him. And then, they get ready for the match, and Masked Assassin says, oh, yeah, by the way, Skandor Akbar paid me to not be your partner, so I'm not going to do it. And then Ernie Ladd's like, wait a minute, I paid you. Like, you could have told me before the match that, Akbar paid for you not to do it. I would have given you more money. And basically, Masked Assassin was just like, Akbar gave me enough money. Akbar, when he paid me, said he paid me not to tell you. So I decided not to. So we walked away, and then Ernie Ladd ended up having to go get another partner, Iron Mike Sharp. And then, you see the transition, the progression of that storyline. And Paul Orndorff comes back, and he wrestles for, a few more weeks, tries to get the North American title from Bob Roop. Doesn't happen. He leaves the territory. And then you see Ted DiBiase come back after being injured, and he tried to win the North American title. And he actually sets up a North American title match with Bob Roop, and where he decides, or he basically says, if I can't win the title back, I'm going to leave Mid-South Wrestling.
Damn.
Well, then Junkyard Dog beats Bob Roop for the title, I think, in the Superdome in Louisiana. So now it's going to be Ted DiBiase versus Junkyard Dog for the North American title. And they're friends. So they get along. So now, like, it's friend versus friend. But the stipulation still is that if DiBiase doesn't win the title, he's out. So they have the match, and Ted DiBiase cheats to win the title.
Damn.
So now you see Ted DiBiase with the heel turn. Later on in 82, you see him form the Rat Pack with Matt Bourne and Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, wow.
So
Hacksaw was heel before?
Yeah.
Oh,
So you see all the all this progression of the storylines, and week to week they're doing week to week television as if like they're producing it as like the storylines have to continue.
Wow.
It's basically one continued storyline, or there's like a few different storylines in there, but still. So, and I was always captivated by, and I kind of was captivated by that, even watching it just a few years ago. So that's why it made my list at number 5.
Interesting. Very very nice.
Thank you. All right, what's your number 4?
Do you want to guess?
1998.
No, 2004. This is the year where Shawn Michaels and Triple H continued their feud from 2003, but it had Chris Benoit added to it because Chris Benoit won the Royal Rumble that year.
Yeah.
Then he won the world title. Eddie Guerrero won the title against Brock Lesnar the previous month. So you had Eddie and Chris Benoit winning their titles for the first time in WWE. And then you had the 2 triple threat matches, as I mentioned, with Chris Benoit winning the title. Yeah. So I enjoyed that, both triple threat matches. And then you had the rise of Randy Orton winning the title against Chris Benoit at SummerSlam, and then his feud with Mankind, with Mick Foley, right?
Yeah. Probably one of the greatest matches in Backlash history.
Yep. So you had that match, and then Backlash you had the Chris Benoit, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H too.
Yeah.
So Backlash that year was pretty good. Probably one of the best Backlashes. You had some good storylines with Randy Orton getting kicked out of Evolution. No, not yet, right?
No, he got kicked out in 2004.
Yeah. So he gets kicked out, and then You got that storyline with Triple H trying to get the title back. Yeah, this is the Triple H year of terror, sort of. He's trying to get his title back that he lost from Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
So, it was a good year. All around good storylines.
Yeah. What I find kind of funny about 2004 is because that's kind of the end of Pat Patterson in the company. Because their house show business was down.
Yeah.
And like the ratings were down. And Vince McMahon asked Pat Patterson, hey, can you find out what the problem is? And so Pat did his research. And he basically said in a meeting, because Vince asked him in the meeting, hey, what's the issue? Why, why is business down? And he goes, oh, it's because of Triple H. And, Vince is just like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, the fans are sick of Triple H, especially him being on top.
Yep.
So,
we've talked about this before, so.
So they're like, so Stephanie, of course, because she's married to Triple H, goes and lets him know, is like, hey, Pat Patterson thinks you're the downfall of the company. And then Triple H kind of gets in Vince's ear and says, do we really need him around? Like, he really doesn't add anything anymore. I mean, he's not one of your stooges anymore, so maybe we could get rid of him. And so Vince told Pat he's allowed to retire.
Oh, wow.
So, but, and then like you kind of had the rise of TNA.
Yep.
Second
year, right?
Yeah. It was technically heading into year 3 because they started in 2002. So like you had all that.
Ring of Honor started.
Ring of Honor was going. You had SmackDown being the better show, I think, in WWE with JBL and Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle and Undertaker,
Kane,
and all those guys.
No, Kane was
still on Raw. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a pretty good year. I mean, I liked the Rumble that year. I liked WrestleMania. I thought Survivor Series was good that year.
Yeah. I thought all the pay-per-views were good, even SummerSlam too.
Yeah. Well, SummerSlam was okay. Too many heels won. But all right, so that was your number 4. That was your number 4. And by the way, I did go and I asked like a bunch of the legends that I'm friends with on Facebook. I'm like, what do you think were the best years in wrestling? And I did get a few people that responded. And a couple of them, I believe, did agree with me saying a couple of them did agree with me saying 1982. Trying to remember who it was. John Horton, Craig Johnson basically said 80 through 85 were the best.
Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not going to have anything before 96.
Okay. I will. Rod Price said the early 80s. And that's basically anybody that said, or everybody that said like 82 was kind of included in the best years. But all right, so my number 4 is actually, and this is going to kind of sound weird to a lot of people, but I put 2006.
That's a good year.
And the reason why I put 2006 is because they had a really good Royal Rumble. I did like WrestleMania that year. SummerSlam was okay, but I really liked Survivor Series. that year, and I thought they did a good job, like with Unforgiven and Vengeance. Great American Bash that year sucked.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
That was the first Punjabi prison match, and Great Khali wasn't even medically cleared to do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think 2006 was when I started really getting back into wrestling.
Yeah.
So,
But I always, I liked the Rey Mysterio winning the Rumble because I thought that was a really good Rumble match that year. And then, WrestleMania I thought was really good. Rob Van Dam winning Money in the Bank and Shawn Michaels beating the shit out of Vince McMahon.
that was the DS reunion?
Yeah, they reunited after One Night Stand that year.
Yep. Now, yeah, that's definitely when I started coming back.
Yeah. And that was going to be one of those, like, what was funny about that was going to be like a big year for Rob Van Dam, and he was going to get this heavy push. And then, Sabu talked him into fucking, driving and getting high.
Was that Cena in HBK too, or no?
No, that was 2007. There's a couple reasons why I can't put 2007.
Yeah, I know. One of them I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. But no, 2006, and then you had the return of Saturday Night's Main Event that year, and it was kind of a spectacle for a little bit.
Yep, ECW One Night Stand.
Yeah, ECW One Night Stand, Saturday Night's Main Event. You had ECW come back as the third brand, and they actually treated it like it was something good for a few weeks.
Yeah. They had some respectable champions too.
Yeah.
Even Lashley was a respectable champion.
So, but all right, yeah. So that's my number. That's my number 4. Eric, go ahead and say what your number 3 is.
2001. We all know what this year is. Vince McMahon buying WCW.
Yeah.
The Invasion. I mean, I like the Invasion more than a lot of people. I enjoyed the storyline. For me, I mean, for myself, I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people shit on it, but I enjoyed it. I know it wasn't perfect, but hey, some people did like it.
I think a lot of people shit on it because of who could have been involved.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I agree with that too.
Yeah, but when you have, and here's the thing, when you have when you buy out your competition and then you decide you want to do an invasion, but because a lot of guys still had contracts that still ran for a year, about a year or two or whatever it was, that they were allowed to run for, and basically you offer those guys, hey, you can take up a 50% or whatever it is buyout, and come work for us, or you could stay home and get paid for however much longer your contract goes for. Because I think Scott Steiner and Kevin Nash, Goldberg, Sting.
Yeah,
I think Goldberg and Sting were the longest, I think, weren't they?
I think so. Because Sting didn't go to TNA until 2003 or 2004, right?
No, he went in 2002. He made a couple of appearances. He started wrestling again in 2002. I know that.
So, yeah, his contract was probably up after 2001.
Yeah. Or no, 2003 is when he went to TNA. But he started making appearances for a promotion in Australia in 2002.
Okay. So his contract was probably over at the beginning of 2002 or something.
Yeah. But Goldberg's wasn't up till 2003, so he went over. But it's a lot of those guys were just And it's dumb to think, even though Booker T did say that, like Ric Flair told him one time that time off is like your worst enemy. And I kind of believe that, because like if you get rusty, then you're not really able to do like what people think you can do.
Yeah.
So
that's in every sport too.
Huh?
That's in any sport.
Yeah. I mean, hell, like Peyton Manning had a whole year off in what 2011 he was off.
Yeah, and then he came back to the He came back
to the Broncos, but they were still a good team.
Yeah, but he wasn't the same quarterback.
He wasn't the same quarterback. All I remember that day, or all I remember is the divisional round, because the divisional round that year, and the Ravens and the Broncos going to double overtime.
Oh yeah, that's the year the Ravens won the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember just kind of being bummed out that day, because we did my grandfather's funeral that day, my mom's dad. And I was just bummed out that day. But, I got to see this, really good game. It was, double overtime. So I was like, this isn't bad. But getting back to my point, though, about guys, not wanting time off. So you had guys that wanted to just continue to work because they still, believed, they still liked having the exposure, getting in the ring. But you had guys like Nash and Goldberg and Hogan and Sting. I think Sting's, though, was just mainly because he didn't want to go to the competition. He was too loyal to WCW.
Yeah. And TNA was in competition, so.
Yeah. I'll tell you one of the first of all, one of the best Royal Rumbles, best Royal Rumble pay-per-views was that year. I actually still consider Royal Rumble 2001 to be the greatest Royal Rumble pay-per-view of all time.
Yep. It was a great pay-per-view.
Sounds like my computer. It sounds like my brother's computer's about to blow up. Yeah, and then WrestleMania was really good that year. That's considered like one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. Yeah, SummerSlam was really good that year. I don't care what people say about the Invasion. The 5-on-5 elimination match at Survivor Series that year was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with that. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that pay-per-view.
Yeah. So, a lot of people might shit on 2001, but it's remembered for a lot of big things.
Yeah. Especially Shane McMahon being on WCW.
Yeah.
WCW.
Yeah. So, all right. So, my number 3 is actually
Austin turning heel, too.
Yeah, that was another big moment. I mean, it kind of flopped.
Yeah.
But the reason why it flopped is because they really didn't have that many baby faces for him to work with.
Yeah, and then Triple H got injured.
Because Rock was going away. Undertaker and Kane can only do so much.
Yep.
Jericho, a lot of people didn't think he was ready for that spot. They didn't think Benoit was ready for it either. The one person they felt like they could turn babyface, because him and Austin would have really good matches, Triple H, he's just like, fuck you, I'm not turning babyface.
And he got injured.
Yeah. But he was they wanted him to be like the big babyface. Like that whole thing where he came out and attacked Rock, he was supposed to save the Rock and fight off Austin, but he's like, fuck that, I'll team with Austin.
And that's the year that Jericho actually did win, became the Undisputed Champion, because he beat Rock and Austin. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in one night.
Yeah.
So he actually did prove them wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry about that. I didn't want to interrupt like that, but I just wanted to mention that.
I can't get mad at you for adding content. So, all right. But my number 3 is, and this is kind of a funny year because a lot of wrestling territories were dying this year,
Oh wow.
but the WWF, what we know now is WWE, the WWF was still pretty hot.
Yeah.
And that's 1988.
Okay.
So a few legends agree with me on this, like Paul Roma. He got back to me. He said 88 through 89, or he said 88 through 93 or were some of the best years. Can't remember somebody. Ken Resnick, who was a former AWA announcer.
Yeah.
He said he basically said the same thing. He said 85 through 80 or 85 through 90. So and then like a couple others I'll get into later on. But like 1988, so one of the big things about 1988 was the first ever primetime special that they did on NBC. They had Saturday Night's Main Event, and this is WWF I'm talking about, where they decided Saturday Night's Main Event was always a quarterly, about 3 or 4 times a year, which I love the fact that they're bringing it back.
Next month, right?
December.
Yep.
So they're bringing it back in December. But Saturday Night's Main Event would run quarterly, 3 or 4 times a year, and it would replace Saturday Night Live for just one night. They do a special. It would be an hour and a half, so it would be late at night. So a lot of little kids really couldn't stay up and watch it.
Oh, that sucks.
And there was a couple of times where I was actually able to stay up, but like I get told by my parents, it's like, you have to nap before before you
watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, all right, whatever. That was the same thing with pay-per-views too. Like if I wanted to stay up and watch a pay-per-view, I had to take a nap during the day.
That way you get at least that sleep. Yep.
So anyway, so you had the first ever. So they decided. So WrestleMania 3 in 1987, you had Hogan and Andre, which was one of the biggest matches they could do, and they decided on February 5th, 1988, which we have covered on the show before, back in our audio only days.
Yep.
When we could do the show. When we could do the show naked and nobody judge us. But
we didn't do it. I didn't do it that way. Never mind. I'm not going to.
Well, I mean, there was that time you tried to pour peanut butter or tried to spread peanut butter all over my chest, but I guess we don't talk about that. Anyway, so Clintus would have hung up by now. So February 5th, 1988, Hogan and Andre are going to collide in this rematch. It's going to be prime time. You also have Macho Man versus Honky Tonk Man for the Intercontinental title. And you have Strike Force and the Hart Foundation for the tag titles. But everybody wanted to see Hogan and Andre. And 33.5 million people tuned in for this thing.
Wow.
And so that kind of showed how hot the company still was at the time. Now, they had the WrestleMania 4 title tournament because, Andre winning the title and then vacating it to DiBiase. And then Jack Tunney, basically saying DiBiase can't buy the belt. He's got to win it in the ring. So they do WrestleMania 4. Savage is the champion. In other places, you had the Jim Crockett Promotions, which would become WCW later on. You had them create this event called Clash of Champions, which was a quarterly thing, which was kind of their answer to Saturday night's main event, except for they would put it on just like a normal day of the week, and then it would be a 2-hour show, and it would have like major matches on it. So it would be like it would be basically free pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So that was their answer to Saturday night's main event, and they ran the first episode, or they ran the first ever Clash of Champions on free TV opposite of WrestleMania.
Oh wow!
So, because Vince McMahon decided in the fall of '87, because WCW Jim Crockett Promotions used to run Starrcade on Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Well, Vince decided to have a pay-per-view on Thanksgiving night. And so the cable companies were just like, okay, well, Jim Crockett Promotions runs Starrcade during the day, so you can have Starrcade during the day, and you can have WrestleMania, or you can have Survivor Series at night. And Vince came back with, no, you can't. And then Vince basically told all the cable companies, said, if you carry Starrcade, you can't have Survivor Series. And by the way, I'm not going to let you have WrestleMania either.
Wow.
So, he's a selfish fuck. So then the cable companies basically told him, you can't do that anymore. Like, we always had these set days. If you want to run a pay-per-view, you have to run it opposite of Jim Crockett Promotions. So his next response to that was he ran the very first Royal Rumble, which was a free TV special, on the same day that Jim Crockett Promotions was running a pay-per-view.
Oh, okay.
So then Dusty's answer was, okay, fuck you. We're running the Clash of Champions opposite of Starrcade. And that pissed Vince the hell off. But Dusty didn't care, because Dusty's just like, all right, you already screwed up Starrcade for us. You took away our, a lot of our buys for Bunkhouse Stampede by putting a free show on there. And Dusty already kind of had a grudge to begin with, because, the Virgil character was named after Dusty, because Dusty's real name is Virgil.
Oh.
So Dusty's just like, I'm going to run this special against your WrestleMania. If you don't like it, you can, kiss my ass.
Yeah, exactly.
So they they did that. And then, it drew a decent rating. It drew like a 5.4.
Wow.
Which was a decent rating, or at least in my eyes. And you had the first ever Flair Sting match, which went 45 minutes.
Yeah, in 1988, that's pretty good rating.
Yeah. So then you had other promotions that were still around. Like, you had AWA that was still around, but they were kind of floundering at the point. And Kurt Hennig, who had been their champion for a year, decided he was going to jump ship to the WWF, become Mr. Perfect. You had Jerry Lawler become AWA champion. There was a lot of other things that happened in '88. The ascension of Demolition, the ascension of the Ultimate Warrior. So, Big Boss Man joining the WWF and having that feud with Hogan. Survivor Series that year for the WWF was really good. So business was still at a high, at least for the WWF. And for Jim Crockett Promotions, they were doing pretty good until like they started kind of running into money problems, and that's when TBS ended up buying them.
Yeah.
So, all right, Eric, what's your number 2?
1997. This was everybody knows a big storyline in this. Actually, 2 big storylines. It was obviously the Montreal Screwjob, the Sting Hogan storyline, and continuation of the NWO's reign on WCW. So you had that. You had the rise of Stone Cold and the start of Stone Cold Vince feud starting. Mainly in '98, but it's kind of started in '97 too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, the first stunner happened in 97.
Yeah. So the seeds were planted for that feud, that storyline, and then you had '97. You had Brett going to WCW, Sting versus Hogan in a Starrcade, coming back and winning the title, even though it was a screwy finish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a good year. And then you had the good Royal Rumble. That was the first Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget, too, the ascension of Diamond Dallas Page.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. And the debut of Goldberg.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, 97 was a great year.
Now, you have what the Wrestling Observer thing, the yearbook, right?
Yep.
That's where a lot of your notes came from.
And from my head. So if I needed the book, I would go back and make sure I got something right. But yeah, I have 97 and 99.
Aha. So, but no, 97 was a really good year because of it, wrestling was starting to get hot again. And it was getting hot because of the NWO. Obviously, it would get hotter in 98 because of Austin. But they had, but both companies really did have momentum. And then you had ECW, which was, really up and coming, I think, at the time.
Yeah. And D-Generation S formed too.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in 97 that you could just be like, eh. But, there's
a lot of storylines. A lot of interesting storylines, especially Brett's era. Brett, end of the era for Brett in WWF. And then the rise of Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
Undertaker too. The rise of Undertaker.
And the Kane debut and
Hell in a Cell. Yeah. Yep.
All right.
I've seen that in 1999 for my number 1. So it's spoiler alert there.
Yeah, I kind of figured when you brought up that you had the books.
Oh, 99. Regardless of my book, even if I didn't have the book, 99 would have been my number 1.
Yeah. So my number 2, and I've got the first edition of the book of the Wrestling Observer thing here somewhere. But a lot of it I can actually just go off of memory too.
Yeah.
Is 1991.
Okay.
I still have to get the second volume. So I have January through June. I still have to get July through December.
The same thing with this. I only have January through June.
Yeah.
I might buy it. I might buy the second one today.
Yeah. I still have to get the second one, and then they have one for the whole year of '84.
Okay.
So
The one that looks like this.
no,
Black one.
it's the black one.
Okay.
But they did the whole year. They didn't split that one up into volumes, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Wrestling Observer was only like a year old at that point, so they really didn't need it.
And Dave Meltzer wasn't hot, the asshole he is today.
Well, and also, I mean, I'm sure he still was, but like in '84, the issues of the Observer weren't that big because they were all being done on a typewriter.
Okay, yeah.
Like computers weren't really a thing yet.
And there was no PWI 500, right?
No, that came out in '91. So, but 1991 is my number 2. A lot of that I can just go off of memory. 1991 Royal Rumble was really good. 1991, the WrestleMania 7 was really good. SummerSlam and Survivor Series were 2 of my favorites that year. A lot of good storylines in the WWF. I mean, yeah, you had the stuff that Hogan and Slaughter were doing that, concerned the war.
Yeah.
And, that was kind of iffy. But Savage and Warrior had a really good match at WrestleMania. There was a lot of guys that I felt were coming up at that time that were starting to prove to be like big stars.
Yeah.
Like the Legion of, like, the funny thing is, if you go back to 1991 and even a little bit into 92, but mainly 91, and you look at like a lot of the like secondary products that WWF were doing at the time, which were like, they had bed sheets and frisbees, and I think I had a WWF dodgeball, a kite. They had WWF toothbrushes, which I do have somewhere.
You still have it?
No, I bought them off eBay just a few years ago.
Oh, I was gonna say that's from 1991.
They might be underneath the bathroom sink, but because I remember like I had them, and Daniel's like, "Well, do you have extra toothbrushes?" I'm like, "I have the WWF ones." He's like, "Fuck you." He's like, "You don't want to take those out of the box." But like the WWF toothbrushes, you could get them. There was 4 of them. It was Hogan, Warrior, Boss Man, and the Legion of Doom.
Oh wow! I'm surprised not Savage.
I think because Savage was a heel.
Okay.
But Hogan, Warrior, Boss Man, and LOD were the most marketable of all the guys. Back when I was a kid, I had Hogan, Boss Man, and Warrior cookie cutters.
Oh wow! You still have them today?
We didn't. I don't think so. Now, like, I didn't use them for cookies. I used them to, kind of make wrestling figures out of my Play-Doh. But,
okay.
But like you could, but yeah, like they had the cookie cutters of those guys, and the old WWF squirt heads, which were like the heads of the guys, and like you just squirt them and water comes out.
Cool.
They had a whole, like it was Warrior, Hogan, Savage, Boss Man, Jake the Snake,
Flair,
Ted DiBiase, and then I think the Rockers, the Bushwhackers, and the Legion of Doom. And I had all of them.
No Flair.
Yeah, this was like earlier in the year.
Okay.
Before Flair got there. And I had all of them.
Oh, wow.
And now I lost half of them. Now I lost a couple of them because I remember getting into a fight at preschool.
Wow.
This kid. So I brought my my squirt heads to preschool, right? Because you were allowed to bring your toys.
Yeah.
So I had all of them there, and one of the kids, took one of the squirt heads. I forgot which one. It might have been one of the Bushwhackers. I'm not sure. but he took one of the squirt heads and put it in his backpack. I went to take it out of his backpack, and he stopped me. He said, "What do you think you're doing?" And I'm like, "You're taking one of my toys. I'm getting him back." He took my head and he put it through the wall.
Yo, how old were you?
5.
Wow.
So he took my head, put it through the wall. Him and I ended up becoming friends later, and then he got his comeuppance because he actually got expelled from middle school because he put a cherry bomb in the toilet.
Yo.
Which, by the way, should not be a 3-man job. All right. Because it took 3 guys to pull that prank. One guy had to build it. The other guy brought it to school.
And
the third guy is the one that dropped it in the can.
Wow. And they all got expelled?
Yeah. I mean, they were allowed to attend high school, I think, after. But that's when I moved out. I lived in Lancaster, New York at the time. But that's when I moved from Lancaster to Newfane. Because my parents had gotten divorced. So, but no. So, yeah, I had all the WWF squirt heads, which in 91, they were coming out with a shit ton of stuff.
Wow.
Like, you had the wrestling buddies. You had, obviously, the Hasbros were really big at the time. They had a WWF hockey table.
Ooh.
I had that.
Nice.
There was a lot of WWF stuff out there there wasn't a lot of WWF stuff out there that I didn't have.
Do you have any of them today?
Probably not.
I was gonna say if you did, you could probably sell them.
I mean, I have the Hasbros and all that, but a lot of a lot of the old WWF stuff, like that I had when I was a kid, like that probably is stuck somewhere on Central Avenue in Lancaster, New York.
Oh wow, okay.
But like I had WWF folders for my for school and all that. Like I had,
yeah, I remember collecting those kind of folders. I think I had athletes.
Yeah, like I had, like they had ones for Texas Tornado. They had the Rockers. They had the Bushwhackers, and I know I had the Rockers and the Bushwhackers ones. But like with 91 was like a big like merchandise year.
Nice. And you were 5 years. 5 years old, you said.
Huh?
You said you were 5 years old, right?
Yeah. So like I had a lot of that stuff. And they had decent storylines. And like I said, a lot of guys were coming up that year. Like British Bulldogs started to really ascend in 91.
Oh yeah.
Then you look over at WCW and they're struggling financially. But a lot of this stuff they did, like Sting was a big name, Luger was a big name for a while, Flair while he was there. You had the Steiner brothers who were really ascending, especially Rick.
Yeah.
And what was funny about that too, Eric, was that WCW tried matching the WWF in like the merchandise department.
Oh, with the Hasbros. I can't speak.
Yeah, well, they had what were called their figures were called the Galoobs. Galoob made theirs.
Did you collect those too?
Yeah, I had the majority of the first series. The second series was UK only.
Do you have any of those still today? I forget if you do.
They might have been sold at one of the toy shows last year. But I mean, I'd like to try to collect the UK ones because they're rare. But yeah, I had a lot of those. WCW did their own tattoos.
Wow.
Yeah,
fake one.
they had tattoos that you could put on, and then they would wash away in the bathtub.
Yeah. I used
So,
yeah,
like, and the whole set was like you had Hogue, or you had Sting, you had Luger, you had Flair, you had, believe it or not, you had Arn Anderson,
nice.
you had Sid Vicious, Barry Windham, the Steiners, I think, and then the WCW logo.
Vader?
No, this was before Vader. And then you had another company that was starting up. We know a lot. We know a lot of these people. The Global Wrestling Federation.
Yep.
Was started up in the middle of 91. They had a really good like second half of 91 and beginning of 92 until management started to change and all that stuff. But in 91, when Bill Eadie was booking the company and they were starting out and they were starting to get like a lot of traction on ESPN and people were starting to really take notice of them. And then they became really hot when Eddie Gilbert took over the book. But then Eddie got carried away and started forgetting the fact that they had a program that was geared towards kids.
No. Now, was Rod Price there yet?
Yeah, he started with the company. So he actually was with the US because before the whole like GWF thing, Joe Pedicino wanted to start the GWF in January of 91.
Okay.
But Jerry Jarrett didn't want to give up the TV yet. Because Jerry Jarrett, USWA had that ESPN spot. He didn't want to give it up.
Yeah.
But, Global needed that in order to be successful. So, but yeah, like Rod Price was already there because Rod Price was wrestling for USWA Dallas.
Friend of the show, by the way.
Huh?
I said friend of the show, by the way.
Yeah. He gave his what he thought were the best wrestling years, and he said it was the early 80s before Vince took everybody over. But
hopefully we'll be back on soon.
Yeah, I think it's time to get a lot of those guys back on. I don't know if they'd be able to do video, but we can try.
Yeah. I just had to send them the link too, or send you the link to send them, whatever.
Yeah. It would also depend too if they wanted to be on video.
Yeah, they can do what Clinic does.
Yeah. Oh, well, as far as like calling into the show, yeah. Like actually calling in. Don't do what Clinic does because Clinic does jack shit. Don't be like Clinic. For God's sake. But yeah, so like in 91, it was kind of one of those, it was a down period, I think, for the business, but you had those. And I remember like those three companies very fondly because I watched all three. WWF, WCW, and Global.
Yep. Now, what is it called? WCW yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I'll never forget, and scared the shit out of me being 5 years old when Jake the Snake Roberts had that snake bite the Macho Man.
Oh, yeah. I think we watched that pay-per-view, didn't we?
We
watched a few pay-per-views from 91, I believe.
Yeah, we were going to do Survivor Series 91, but I forgot what happened. We ended up not doing it.
Yeah, I think we had to cancel the show or something.
Yeah. And then, but we did watch the Tuesday in Texas pay-per-view where Jake slapped the shit out of Elizabeth.
Yep. Yeah, I thought we watched another one in 91.
Yeah, we did the SummerSlam.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we did.
Which Mountie and Bossman in the jailhouse match, I still think that's like a match I'll never like forget.
Yeah. You have to do. We'll probably do another 91. Maybe that Survivor Series.
Yeah, we'll see. I got to clear it with corporate. But all right, Eric. As if we already don't fucking know, what is your number one?
1999. This was a great year. You had I mean, it's not great, but Stone Cold couldn't run over that storyline starting. You had Stone Cold Rock 1 at WrestleMania 15 in Philadelphia. Probably another reason why I chose 99 because Philadelphia 90 WrestleMania 15. So what else you had? You had hold on. Let me go to my notes. You had Triple H becoming a star. You had corporate ministry. You had it was the famous Vince quote, "It was me, Austin. It was me all along."
Yeah.
I can never forget. I always remember that line. I wish I could play it, but we would probably get flagged. But yeah, 99. What else? Unfortunately, there were some deaths in 99. Owen. Who else? Davey. Big Show WF debut. Yeah, Owen Hart unfortunately passed away. We don't need to go into detail of that.
Yeah.
That's been talked about so many times throughout the years. We don't need to do that. It's not the show for this. Not the topic for this show.
So I just got a message on Facebook from our buddy Barry Horowitz because I asked him the same question I asked all the other legends. It's like, what do you think were the 5 best years in wrestling? And he just said 80s and 90s.
Yep. And that was what else am I forgetting? There was not that much in WCW to talk about, so
not really much good. I mean, they weren't necessarily going downhill until probably the summertime.
Yeah. But yeah, the rise of Triple H, as I said, becoming a star, The Rock too, those two becoming stars, and unfortunately, the storyline with Austin getting hit by a car. So, all different kind of storylines in 99.
Yeah. Don't forget, and I don't even know if you know about this or not, but the Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view aired in 99, which was
okay.
Huh?
No, I was gonna say, I said okay. I didn't know about that.
So basically what that was I forgot, it was these guys in Vegas. They were gathering together a lot of the older guys who weren't working anywhere.
Okay.
But they were going to do like a series of pay-per-views. And the first one they did ended up being the last because it sucked.
Damn.
And Dutch Mantel was the color commentator.
Ooh.
And it was mainly remembered for Jake the Snake Roberts was a drunken fool.
Wow.
So he wrestled Jim the Anvil Neidhart on that show. And the match was so horrible that the main event was supposed to be King Kong Bundy versus Yokozuna.
Wow, that's the main
Yokozuna
event?
at the time was still like 500 pounds. And what they ended up having to do, because Jake was making an ass out of himself, they sent Bundy and Yoko out to make the match between Jake and the Anvil a tag match.
Wow. Was that bad?
Yeah.
That's probably why I never heard of it. People don't want to talk about it.
I mean, and the thing is that the only thing you would send Yokozuna and King Kong Bundy out to save is the business at a diner.
Mm-hmm.
Like those two fat fucks really weren't going to save a show.
Yeah. Is it similar on YouTube?
It might be. I know it used to be.
Now, did you watch the whole show or do you just watch highlights?
So, and I don't know if I've talked about this before. I might have. Back years ago, there was this guy who my mom had a crush on this guy's brother when she was a teenager.
Okay.
And if she's listening, she's going to kill me. But so she had a crush on this one guy's brother when she was a teenager. Well, the brother, the guy, the one she didn't have a crush on, they kind of reconnected back in like 2011 or something like that.
Okay.
And he kind of fell for my mom. And like he knew that Dangle and I liked wrestling. So he had a bunch of wrestling tapes. So he sent us those tapes. Now they were all taped VHS off of a VCR. They were all like taped off of like pay-per-view or whatever.
When VHS was still a thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was dying around this time, but still.
Yeah.
So he gave us all these tapes. And then as soon as he gave us all the tapes, my mom dumped them.
She didn't even let you watch it?
No, we never gave the guy the tapes back.
Oh, okay.
No, like she let us watch the tapes and all that, but the guy wanted to take her to Hawaii, so she dumped him.
Oh.
Instead of getting a free fucking trip.
She turned down a free trip?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure Nookie had to come with it too, but
oh, okay.
So love you, Ma. I'm gonna be in trouble.
That's probably gonna be a short too.
If it is, I'm sending it to her.
Let's hope.
Hey, Ma, guess what we talked about on the show? But no, that pay-per-view was so horrible. And yeah, I have seen the show before. Obviously, that's the short answer to the question, even though I just gave the long one. But yeah, no, 99 is always going to be remembered for how big the WWF was at that time.
Yep. A lot of rising stars.
Yeah. So, all right. My number one. I talk about how much I love this year all the time. 1992. Probably the greatest Royal Rumble match of all time. In my opinion, one of the best WrestleManias of all time, even though it might not have been financially. A really good SummerSlam, a decent Survivor Series. On the other side of the coin in the WWF, probably one of the best War Games matches they ever did was Sting Squadron taking on the Dangerous Alliance. What?
You said WWF for the other side. You meant WCW, right?
I said the other side that's not the WWF.
Oh, okay. Okay. I misunderstood. Sorry.
Yeah. You're good. That's the only thing you fuck up that'll be a miracle. But like with WCW, and then you had the WCW Saturday Night, which used to be called World Championship Wrestling, but they renamed it into WCW Saturday Night, which was WCW's main television show.
Yep.
Also, you had the stuff going on with the Global Wrestling Federation. They had a really hot January and February. Then March came along, and the thing that really screwed over the GWF, and a lot of the guys will talk about this, like if we have them on, and John Horton has talked about it many times before, is just the fact that they ran out of money to transport the guys back and forth.
Oh, wow.
Well, because a lot of their offices were in Atlanta. Like Joe Pedicino, who was running the company at the time, and he was running the company at the time, and Eddie Gilbert, they didn't work in well, I mean, Eddie, I think, kind of lived in Texas. But Joe Pedicino and his wife, Bonnie Blackstone, lived in Atlanta. And they had to go to Texas, to Dallas every week to do TV, even though they usually taped like 6 weeks ahead of time.
Damn.
But the thing is that like, or no, they didn't tape. No, what they did was they taped because their shows were every day. They would do on Friday tapings, they would tape for the whole next week, and then you'd have to keep going back because they were on every day. So instead of doing something like WCW would do in 93 and 94 and 95 and all that, when they would have like 3 set days for TV tapings, so you could tape a month ahead of time or like 2 or 3 months ahead of time. Global just did, you tape for the week, then you come back the next week. The problem with that is you're going to run out of money to pay for the guys to come back and forth.
Yeah.
And Eddie Gilbert, because the people that took over for Pedicino didn't necessarily see Eddie Gilbert's booking as, good, especially for a company that's running Monday through Friday, 3:00 in the afternoon, and you're geared towards kids, and you have Eddie Gilbert throwing fireballs at people. You have, the Dark Patriot throwing alcohol in the real Patriot's eyes, trying to blind him. So, like, even though the company was geared towards kids, they weren't doing stuff that was geared towards kids. So that's where things started going south for them in 92. One of the big things, and Savage and Flair at WrestleMania 8 is always going to be one of my favorite matches of all time. But then, like, you had other things too, and you kind of had, like, the beginning of the year started, and you had all the old guard in the WWF. And then as the year went on, it's like, okay, Hogan's gone, Piper's gone, Jake's gone. Warrior's kind of back and forth. You have a lot of these, Sergeant Slaughter's not being turned into an authority figure. Hacksaw Jim Duggan's being used mainly for commentary.
Wow.
So you're relying more on Brett and Sean.
Yeah.
So it really was like the start of the new generation era almost.
So yeah, the new generation from the golden era, right?
Yeah. So
it's
whatever.
No, I'm just surprised. I'm surprised that you didn't have 94 on your list.
I really don't look at 94. So when I was a kid, I really wasn't allowed to watch wrestling in 94.
Okay.
Now, when I went to Grandpa's house, I did because nobody could stop me. But yeah, no, it's just like these are the years I most remember because I don't need to go back and watch them to remember them. It's like I have a clear memory of 91 and 92.
Yeah, it's the same with mine too. Was there a year that you were surprised that I didn't have?
I was surprised he didn't have 96.
Yeah, I think I started because I talked about it a lot. 96 probably would be in my top 10, 96, 98.
Yeah, so I had a bunch that I had as honorable mentions.
Those would be my honorable mentions.
Yeah. Like I had 89, 90. I actually had 84 as an honorable mention. and I had 2008.
Okay. 2008 is one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
That was the first HBK and Undertaker.
No, 2008 was HBK and Flair.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. For some reason, I always think it's 2008.
But yeah, no, like 91 and 92 are always going to be considered like my favorite years just because that's really too when I started really, getting heavy into the WWF merch, which by the way, like I had a lot of action figures when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Not just wrestling figures. Like I had the Ninja Turtle stuff. I had Ghostbusters figures. I had figures from Cops and Crooks. I had GI Joes. I had.
It's something that you sold at this conventions, right?
Huh?
Something that you already sold.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about the figures when I had when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the hell happened to those.
Oh, okay. I thought you had kept them and then sold them.
I mean, I would have liked to because a lot of those I actually liked. A lot of those are probably stuck in the house. Like I said, they're probably stuck in the house in Lancaster, New York, somewhere.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, like I had a lot of those, and like that's the funny thing because remembering a lot of the stuff that I used to watch when I was a kid. So 91, 92 are more fun for me. That's why they're my top two. Because Saturday mornings I used to get up. So 1991, 1992, Saturday mornings I would get up. I would watch WCW Power Hour from 9 to 10. Now, if I got up any earlier to watch whatever cartoons were on, which would usually be something like, what the hell was on? And let's see, 1991 prime or daytime TV. All right, let's see. Schedule. All right, so so Saturday. So I'd be watching. If I were up in time, I would watch like New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, or I would watch the Muppet Babies. Then like I said, Power Hour would come on. Even though I'm pretty sure I still watch Darkwing Duck and Beetlejuice somehow. I can't remember. Maybe Power Hour came on from 10 to 11, but I distinctly remember it being from 9 to 10. Then I would watch the Turtles. The Turtles, and then the Back to the Future cartoon and Where's Waldo. And then at noon, Superstars would come on. The WWF Superstars of Wrestling. Okay. That was always my Saturday morning.
Cartoons and wrestling.
Huh?
Cartoons and wrestling.
Well, yeah, which is the way God intended it to be.
Exactly.
But like I would always watch, I would always have those on. Or hold on, what the hell was Fox on? Because I always remember. Oh, so Fox, I always had. Like if I didn't feel like watching Ninja Turtles, I would watch Tom and Jerry Kids in Tasmania, or I would watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. But I'm pretty sure I always had on
those.
Yeah.
That lineup.
Yeah. Or like whatever they had on, because sometimes it would be. I think sometimes Superstars of Wrestling would come on at 11 in the morning.
Okay.
And then American Gladiators would come on at noon.
And you would watch that too?
Yeah.
I watched that too. I wish they had that. They would bring that back. I mean, they brought that back a couple times, but it failed.
Yeah.
I know Hogan was host of one.
Yeah. So that was those are always fond memories for like, and later on in the years, like when I got to be a little older and started watching it again, like 95, 96, to me it just wasn't the same. Even though like I did watch like some of the cartoon, and it was like 95, 96 was kind of weird because I would get up early enough, watch whatever was on ABC. Then my dad would take my sister to her dance lessons, and he would be gone for a while. So without him knowing, because I had to get permission to watch wrestling that time.
Okay.
When I was like 5, 6 years old, it was okay. But then I got into a fight at school, and it wasn't okay for me to watch it anymore. But I had to get permission in like 95, 96, 97. So my dad would leave to take my sister to her dance lesson. So I would turn on WCW Pro at 9 o'clock, even though I'm supposed to be doing my chores.
Did you still get your chores done before you got home?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And when I didn't, he would fucking yell at me. And he's like, "Well, what were you watching TV?" Yeah. What were you watching? Cartoons. Even though I was lying, I was watching wrestling.
Did he know you were lying?
Surprisingly, no. I mean, he probably knows now if he's listening. And I'm sure somebody finally clued him in. But no, I got away with it. I got away with it with him. My mom says she knew because I'm pretty sure my grandmother told her. But my grandmother swore her to secrecy from telling my dad because my grandmother hated my dad.
I mean, your mom probably knows now.
Oh, she definitely knows now. Like I said, she claims she knew back then. And but yeah, so like I would watch that stuff, and then around the time though when Superstars of Wrestling would come on, that's when my dad would be like, all right, you have to get your chores done. Like you can't watch any more TV.
Until you get your chores done.
Yeah. And then when I had a TV in my room when I was like 11 years old, I had a TV in my room and I thought I had gotten all my chores done. So I just started watching TV. I was watching Saved by the Bell, the new class.
Yeah. I remember that.
My dad, so my TV hookup was in the basement. So my dad went downstairs and he unhooked the cable to my TV in my room.
Oh.
So like it would come in like all snowy and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's wrong? Dad, can you fix the TV? He goes, oh, I can't right now. I will later. But I just continued to watch it, right? Because I'm like, all right, I can still kind of see it. And then I think I finally did what he wanted me to do, or I don't even know what happened. And I did something, and then he finally went downstairs, put whatever back together he needed to put back together, and then my TV worked again. And that's when the light bulb clicked, and it's like, you son of a bitch. You fucked up my TV for no reason. But, all right, you got anything else? Because I lost track of time and SmackDown started.
No, we were having fun. I enjoyed your stories.
Yeah. I'll enjoy it too until I get in trouble for telling them.
As you can see in the bottom, if you want to plug it, Doug.
Yep. When Tunes combine tomorrow night 7 p.m. Subscribe to well, I'm reading everything on the fucking thing. I mean, you can read it, so you can do it. But
When
tomorrow
Tunes
night's
Combine tomorrow.
episode, huh?
Oh, I thought you were saying to read it.
No, I'm telling the public to read it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so when Tunes Combine tomorrow night, 7 p.m. On the YouTube channel, it's going to be Super Mario Brothers and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yep. And hopefully this will be in the chat. This is one of her favorite show. It's especially Super Mario.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to get out of here because SmackDown's already up and rolling. All right. That's Money E. I'm Dutchy. We're outie. Later. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody.
Bye. Tell Daniel and Shannon hi.
I will.